Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Peteman Reviews. Now rather than doing a stop motion Transformers video, I've opted to do one of the older review types because we're looking at an Action Master, and as we all know, Action Masters do not transform. So this is Action Master Grimlock, one of the first wave of Action Master releases. As you can see, he comes mounted on a little, I guess it's a kind of tank thing. It's extremely top heavy though, so if you don't have him in just the right configuration, he's probably not going to do it now. Oh, there we are. He falls back and it's really difficult. So typically, now that I've started talking, he's standing up a lot better. But anyway, it's not particularly well balanced. So the actual tank comes with a little hook there, and the idea is the arm, in theory, can go onto that. But doing so means that the gun's now pointed at the ground, and it's even more prone to stand it to falling over, so don't do that. In terms of securing the Action Master to the tank tread, you've got two little gaps there, and holes in the feet which just slot in. It's actually quite a secure lock, so that works well. On to Grimlock himself. Well, in terms of a toy, it looks quite good, doesn't it? It's recognisably Grimlock. Obviously you can see a little bit of wear and tear, but never mind. But actually it's not too bad a toy when you consider his comic book appearance. So here we have issue 324 of the Marvel UK comics. If we turn to, here we are, page 10, there is Action Master Grimlock. Indeed, there's other views throughout as well. Now, bearing in mind that unfortunately the toy doesn't come with the sword, which I would have hoped that he would have done, it's quite similar. Unfortunately, the hips do not swivel like he does in action in the pose there, but otherwise you can actually put him pretty much in that mode. If we assume that the gun is a sword, as you do. So, let's just see if we can get them posed. So bearing in mind, unfortunately the hips do not swivel. The legs do have a surprisingly large amount of movement on the ball. You can more or less replicate the pose in the comic. It's just a shame that the hips don't swivel, but actually the fact that you can do that is quite good. Obviously the colouring's a little bit off, it's a much darker tone in the comic, but that could just be a printing issue. The UK edition, say Marvel UK 324, has a number of printing colour errors. There's one, for example, where all the colours are wrong, so it's entirely possible that it's a colour error. But the fact that you can actually put the poses as they were in the comics, more or less, is a point in their favour. Obviously, we all know the point that goes against Transformers that don't transform. Well, there is some transformation. Let me show you. It's a little bit limited. So, take the gun off here. The gun then inserts into the end here, like so. This then drops down. See, this is actually a little release spring, like that. Drops up there. Unfortunately, you'd think that would lock in place there, but it doesn't. It just rests on there. It's not a problem because it's actually meant to be held like this. It basically turns it into a huge gun. So you take Grimlock, take his arm, pop this long central column here into the wrist, and you basically have a gun that's too big for Grimlock to actually hold upright. Partially maybe because the joints are a bit loose with the age, I'm not sure. But as you can see, it's actually quite an impressive looking weapon. Not that Grimlock ever had it, but either in the comics, cartoons, or anywhere else, but it's still quite an impressive looking weapon. So, yeah, it's limited playability. Limited being the word. Limited transferability, but there you go. When I was a kid, Action Masters had come out, and I ended up with Action Master Soundwave, and I always thought, gee, I wish you could transform him like real Soundwave, because all you could do was, so the legs would go up like that, like that, like that, and like that, to kind of get Soundwave as close as you could to the tape deck mode, Of course, you couldn't move the head. The head does rotate from side to side as well. Now, the fact that you can do that with Grimlock just goes to show how manoeuvrable the legs are. The legs are probably the key selling point on these Action Masters. They've got a lot of movement. Arms, they waggle up, they waggle down. They do waggle the full range. Indeed, they waggle all the way around, which, you know, some of the earlier toys did not. Other than that, there's no elbow joint at all. The heads move from side to side. Yeah, they are what they are, I guess. So, in terms of actual detailing, they do have some pretty nice detailing. And I say, you can actually replicate some of the poses in the comics. It very obviously is Action Master Grimlock, you know, as opposed to, for example, Ironhide, the original G1 toy, which, you know, you had to very much assume that it was Ironhide because it looked nothing like the cartoon figure. Yeah, but we won't go into that too much. So at least it does replicate the comic character. As far as Transformers go, well, is it a Transformer or is it a doll? I guess you could argue it's a doll. I mean, you do get the transforming tank here, or is it a gun? But let's face it, you don't pay good money for a Transformer that comes with a little tank that can transform. Obviously we did back in the day, but I'm not sure I would nowadays. Oh wait, I just bought this off eBay, so obviously I am. Other sites are, I'm sure, available. But yeah, in terms of collections, I got it because it was relatively cheap. It was a little bit of an oddity, and I thought, you know what, I do want to have an Action Master. I suppose I might look at Action Master Soundwave again, purely because I had him as a kid. But really, the only reason you buy these is either to complete the collection or for nostalgia values. There are far better toys out there. They aren't great. I've heard apparently the legs can be susceptible to falling off because you've got all that movement. Fortunately, Grimlock doesn't have that, so I don't yet at least have to worry about that. But yeah, as toys go, there are much, much better options out there. In terms of posable characters, it's not bad. So if you want to have your Transformers on a shelf but posed to be fighting, the Action Master, certainly Action Master Grimlock, is probably one of your better options. But that's about it, really. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please click, subscribe, like. I don't know why I said click, because you've already clicked on the video, but please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next review. Thank you. Goodbye. Before we go, and I put the toy away now, I forgot to show you the backing card that it came with. Just to zoom out a bit. So as you can see, it's a very simple backing card. You would have the toy enclosed here with obviously a shrink wrap over it, bubble wrap over it. Action Masters, the action is alive, and it's an anti-tank cannon converts from weapon to mortar launcher. So that's what we tried to say it was. And on the back, tells us exactly what you have with the particle beam cannon apparently, and an anti-tank weapon. Tells you how to transform him. You put that on there. Apparently they suggest that he walks with it, which would explain why it's so top heavy when he tries to ride it. Although it's interesting then that he has the little points on there. Remove the particle beam, then that flips up like that. You insert that on there. There you are, the rocket water. It suggests he holds it behind his back. Good luck trying to get your Grimlock to stand up if it does that. On the back you get some power plans, which give you some nice little details about what might be on it. It's all absolute gobbledygook, but there you are. Dual phonic magnifier. Okay. Air ventilation system. Why would a Transformer need air vents? But never mind. Positioning, reducing, what? Do they mean feet? Oh well, never mind. Tells you a bit about the Transformer, and then you get the tech specs as normal. Though these ones, as you can see, you don't need any red, what do they call it, acetone to go over it. So Grimlock is top in terms of courage and endurance. I guess that makes sense. Not top in strength, which is okay. Intelligence, I notice, rather high. I guess it depends which version of Grimlock you're talking about here, comic or cartoon. Speed, very, very, very slow. You'd think an Action Master would be fast. Oh well, never mind. Yeah, all in all, is what it is. And 1.5 robot points. I don't know if they were doing robot points back in when this came out, which was what, 1989. I didn't realise it was as late as that. I thought it was more 1990, or 1991. But there we are. Maybe that's just from the comics. So there we are. That's the card they came on. Unfortunately, the price is all but gone. Whatever it was, it had a 4 in it. Could have been $4.99. Seems a bit cheap, but there we are. So yeah, that's the backing card you get on. Very bright. I guess interesting enough. Full of rubbish on the just technical jibber jabber on the power plans, but otherwise much as you would expect elsewhere. Yeah. Say the instructions are minimal, but that's not really a surprise, is it? There we are. Thank you for watching that.